This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so now this is the location site git-sem.com and the downloads section. So now here you can see usually our machines will be the Windows machine. Now you can click on download this version for Windows. So if you click on this button, the binary, so now the binary will be downloaded into your local with the version git-2.2.7, whatever the version is there. So once it is downloaded into your local, simply double click it. Next. That's it. So now the Git will be installed on your Windows machine. So once it is installed on your Windows machine, then go and search for Git Bash. Git Bash. Right. So download the Git and install that Git. Then finally you are going to see a Git Bash app on your menu. So open the Git Bash. Right. So this is the location is going to show me. Right now I am at C user Shankar.daddy. So now my key, whatever the key I have downloaded from the AWS, by default it will be downloaded into the downloads folder. I can see here shankar-devops.pm file. So right. So now here the thing is the easiest way is better go to this location wherever the .pm file is placed, the location. So if I go to my Git Bash here, right now I am at the Shankar.daddy. I need to move to the downloads. So simply what I can do, cd downloads. Now I move to the downloads, nothing but wherever my PEM file is located. Right. So now here, then the next thing will be connect the machine. To connect the machine, go to your AWS dashboard, then select the server. Right. This is the machine just now I have launched it with the name Git. So select it, then go to the connect button, click on the connect. Then in the example, we are going to see an example here how to connect the machine. So blindly copy the command. We'll discuss about this thing later, guys, for you, like those who are new, this SSL mechanism. Okay, simply copy this command and go to our Git Bash, paste it. Right, it is going to look for the devops.pm file in this location. That is the reason I moved from my Shankar.daddy to downloads. Straight away it can fetch from this downloads location. This is the PEM file, and this is the connection string to connect the AWS server. So I am not doing any changes. Simply I have copied the command and I have pasted it here. Enter. So now it is going to ask you for the first time the fingerprint. Give the yes. That's it. Now from my Windows, I have connected the Linux machine of AWS. Very easiest one. Right. So just we require to create a machine. Then we need a Git Bash to connect the machine. For that I have installed the Git. Then selected the machine and went to the connect button and copied this command and paste it into the Git Bash and hit enter. Right. So tomorrow I want to have a new mission. Right. Suppose. So I want to a separate mission I want to launch. So now what I will do, simple. I am going to click on the launch instance. The OS is the mandatory step. Which OS you are looking for? Suppose I want to have the Ubuntu mission. Select it. Then review and launch. Click on launch. So now you don't require to have a separate keys because already I have created the key in the past. So now here I am going to select the key, Shankar DevOps. Choose the existing key, Shankar DevOps. Click on acknowledge, then launch. That's it. So likewise, we can create n number of missions. If I go to the view instances, a new mission is going to launch.
Okay, Shankar, I have one doubt here.
Yes. Yes.
Earlier you created instance in Amazon Linux. Now you created an Ubuntu, right? So the same key
Correct.
will work for both.
Yes. So here we can use the same key to connect any flavor of the machine, or also you can connect the Windows machine also. I will show you how to connect the Windows one later. Yes, the same key can be utilized. So here you can observe here. Okay, let me show you to connect the machine. So if I go to the right side,
What if we
you can
change
see
the
the key.
region?
Right. So now this is the AWS question, guys. I will discuss later. But anyway, I will clarify this question to you. So if you change the region, these resources, what are the resources you are going to launch on the cloud, those will be belongs to the same region, not for the other regions. Okay, means if you create a mission on the Ohio region, you cannot connect the same mission on the Mumbai region. Okay, right. So if you see here, there are n number of servers are here in my Ohio. Now I'm switching to some other region, Mumbai. No instances. You cannot. There is other ways. Other ways are there to bring those missions into some other regions. That will be a AWS topic. There is a separate topic how to bring those missions into some other regions. But by default, yes, you cannot connect any missions one region to another region. The regions are strictly belongs to the same region only. What are the region you have deployed it? Okay, right. So let me go back to the Ohio region. So if I want to connect that Ubuntu mission, the same process only. I'm going to select the mission, click on connect. Now you can see here the username is going to change. Earlier it was EC2 user, now it is Ubuntu. Copy, then open a separate Git bash, enter. Yes, that's it. So now you can see Ubuntu. Our earlier one is EC2. Like that. The same key can be utilized to connect or to create n number of missions. Okay, you don't require to have separate keys. That is up to us. If you want to maintain a separate keys, yes, you can create a new keys and you can utilize. Or if you want to maintain, the thing is, right? So if I have the same key, suppose if I lost my key, then what are the servers you have created? You cannot connect those missions. You cannot bring back those keys. So that is the reason. Sometimes what we'll do is we're going to maintain different keys, so that there should not be any dependency on the particular key like that. That is a different strategy. But yes, we can utilize the same key. So now here I'm switching to the root. This is the normal user, EC2 user. Then I'm going to switch to the root like the admin. So for that, sudo -i is the command. So this is for the new guys. I think you guys know, right, about the sudo -i. So sudo -i is the command to switch from the normal user to the root. Right. So now here I would like to set up the Git so that I want to practice the Git commands. Right. So now the machine is ready, and I have connected the machine also. So now to set up the Git, we require to install the Git package, the Git software on my local machine. So for that, the command will be yum install Git. That's it. Right. So m is the like installer, the package toller, so that with the help of this m, you can install the packages on the Red Hat machines. Right. So now m, whatever you want to install, give the install command option, then followed by the package name. Now the package name is Git. Hit enter. Now it's going to ask you the permission. The size is 29 MB. Go ahead, give I, enter. That's it. Git is installed on my local. Now git --- version. Now we can see the version whichever installed is 2.14.5. Now Git is ready. If I give Git, it is going to show you the options also. Right. So now here, this Git, as I said, Git is locally to your machine. Now on my workstation in my laptop, now with the help of this Git, I can maintain my versioning history. What are the code I'm going to write or I'm going to implement. Right. So now here, how I can use the Git to maintain the versions locally. Right. So once the Git is installed on your local, now the thing is we require to maintain the code history. So to maintain the code history, first you require the code. Right. So now we require the code means you require the location first. On the location you are going to place the code. Now the code I am going to convert into, right, I convert in the sense I am going to maintain the history. Right. Now if I have in my machine in my OS, like I am going to have the files or folders. Right. So if I give ls command, ls, right now I don't have anything list in my current directory, pwd. I am in the root. In my root, nothing is there. It's an empty directory, empty folder. So now here to maintain the code, what I'm trying to do here is I'm going to create a folder first. In the folder, I'm going to place my code. So now to create a folder in our Linux, mkdir is the command, right? We know. Then I'm going to use some folder name like DevOps. Now ls list. Now I can see inside my root there is a directory called DevOps. It is an empty directory. ls-l long list. We can see DevOps, and you can see it is a directory. Right. So now inside this directory, I'm going to place my development code. Now that code I want to maintain the history. I want to maintain the versioning. Right. So now here the Git has to understand this directory is the one the developer is going to place the code, so that I need to maintain the versioning. So that has to be understood by the Git. So now how the Git is going to understand this is the directory I need to take it for the versioning. So that is the reason first thing will be we need to create a repository so that will be understandable by the Git. If I give the directory like that, the Git won't understand. The Git cannot maintain the history. Right? So now the thing is you have to create a repository. Inside the repository, you need to place all of your development code. Okay, right. So for that, what you are going to do is first step will be create a directory, convert that directory into Git repository so that Git can understand it is belongs to me, means it is a Git repository. So now what I'm going to do here is I am going to convert this directory into Git repository. The first step is created a directory. Now the directory I'm going to convert into Git repository. For that, first move to the switch to the directory. To switch to the directory, the command is cd, correct? Change directory. Then the directory name DevOps. Now I'm going to confirm it, pwd, present working directory. Right. So now I'm in the root. Inside the root, I'm in the DevOps directory, whatever just now I have created it. Right. So now this directory I'm going to convert it. So to convert any directory into Git repository, the command will be git init, initialization. So now the Git initialization, what the Git initialization will do, whatever the directory you have chosen, that directory will be converted into Git repository. Okay, enter. Now we can see initialized empty Git repository. So right, so now here what the Git is going to do, it is going to create a hidden directory called .git. Right, when you see a dot in front of the file or in front of the directory, you can read that is a hidden. It is in front of the file, hidden file. In front of the directory, it is a hidden directory. So if I give ls, you are not going to see, correct, the directory because it is hidden. ls-a. Now you are going to see the hidden one. Now go to the .git cd switch change directory .git. Now ls. Now you are going to see some files and directories. Now we are going to call this as a working tree. We are going to call this a working tree. This is completely internally to the Git. We are not going to maintain anything here, but to understand, this is the area where the Git is going to store all of the components. Whatever the components belongs to the Git, those will be stored here inside the .git directory. Nothing but the branches. We'll discuss about the branches later. Okay. So the branches information I can find. Any configurations of the Git you are going to do, that will be under the config file. It's a kind of description, nothing but the information. Head is nothing but your location of the cursor. The cursor location. Okay, we'll see what is the head here. So the cursor location will be told by the head. hooks, nothing but the web hooks, the connectivity between the Git to Jenkins or Git to some other tool, the connectivity with the help of the web hooks will be maintained in the hooks. And the information, objects, and references are the internal, nothing but the linking between the components. So this is we are going to call it the working tree. So the working tree will be the internally to the Git, which is not to us. We are not going to do anything here. It is completely maintainable the Git only. That is the reason it is hidden one. .git. So now when I created a repository, the Git will create a working tree, nothing but a .git directory inside that whatever the directory you have chosen. So now the Git will understand this is a Git repository. Now the Git can understand this is a repository. Then what are the operations you are trying to perform with the help of Git? It will be acceptable. If it is not a repository, it won't accept because the Git will not understand the commands what you are trying to throw. Right. Now the first step will be when you want to maintain the code. The first step will be you require a repository. Now the repository is ready. My DevOps. Now let's start placing the code inside the repository. So what I will do, I will go to the DevOps directory. Now here the first command I'm going to do here is git status. So now here the git status command is going to tell you right now what is the situation of the Git. If any operations you have performed, whether operations are successfully processed or any issues are there, those will be shown with the Git status. Right now we did not perform any operations. Simply I have created a repository. So now if I try to hit the enter Git status, no commit set, nothing to commit, everything is clean. So it means any operation you have performed, now you want to see the status of the operation, or you want to see the suggestions next what to be done, or you want to revert it back, or something, anything you want to verify. That is what the Git status. We'll see more clearly on the Git status later. So now Git status is nothing but your status on the Git side, it will be shown. Right. So now here I am trying to add a file. Then I'm trying to give that file to the Git so that the Git will understand that file. Right. So here I'm going to create a file. To create a file on the Linux side, the command will be touch. The touch is going to create an empty file. Right. So now touch, I am going to create an empty file here, sample.txt. Now inside the Git repository, inside the DevOps repository, just now I have created a sample file. Now if I give ls, I can see a file is created with the name sample.txt. So now what the Git is going to do here? Right. So now here this is a sample file I have created inside the repository. Now how the Git is going to understand this file? That's what Git status. Now I want to see how the Git is going to understand this file. So Git status is going to command. So now here is going to tell you I am not able to track this file. Right now Git is going to understand. Git is going to understand a file is created, sample.txt, but it is not able to track the file. So now our job is to you have to convert the file convert means you have to tell the file you have to give the file to the Git, means it has to be converted into trackable format so that Git can take the file. So that's what here the architecture. Let me go back to the architecture here. Git add. So now here what the Git is going to do, now we are the working area means our local. Now it is in the untracked stage. The files, what are the files you are adding here? Initially that will be untracked by the Git. Now we are going to track it out. Means you are need to run a command called git add so that the Git can understand those files. Right. So now here the selection. Now here it's going to tell you I am not able to track the file. So now I would like to track the file means you need to run the command called git add the selection.
So, hi Shankar, Rajesh here.
So you don't. Yeah, Rajesh.
Hi Shankar. Actually, now you said like we are going to add this file to Git, right? So now from our local machine to the repository, what you're saying is right?
Correct.
Okay.
So here, Rajesh. So here everything in the local only right now. So in the local, I have created a Git. I have configured a Git. In my local, just now I converted I created a Git repository. In the repository, I am going to add the files so that the Git can take those files and it can maintain the versioning in future.
Okay. Okay.
Right? Okay. To maintain the versioning, first the thing is it has to be track those files. Initially, the architecture will be initially the files will be untracked state. What are the changes you are done? You are going to do. Those changes will be in the untracked state. Now we need to convert those into tracked state so that Git can take those files. So for that, after the changes are done, right now my change is nothing but creating a file. A sample file is the change. Now after my changes are done, first job will be add those files so that the Git can understand those files. The Git can track those files. Right. So now here Git add, this is the common steps, guys. These are the mandatory steps. Once the changes are done, the first step will be you have to add those files. Right. This is the common and mandatory step for us. So now git add, then here you can see which file you want to add. Right, because you might create n number of files. Like you can create 10 files or you are going to modify 10 files. Now you don't want to add all the 10 files. Simply I want to add only 2 to 3 files so that I can use git add file 1, comma file 2, comma file 3 like that. Or if I have 10 files in a single shot, I have done multiple file changes. Single shot means at a time. At a time, I have done 10 file changes. All the 10 files should be added. So now all the 10 files, how can I add? Git add file 1, comma file 2, comma file 3 means it is a time taking process for me, giving a file one by one. So that what I can do, I can give the location so that the Git will go to the location and it will pick all the files. So that's what dot. Dot means current location. So wherever you are in, right now I'm in the root DevOps. So in the DevOps directory or the repository, whatever the files are there, our directories are there, we are going to tell the Git to take all the files. So that what the Git is going to do, whatever the changes are there, suppose there are 100 files are there in the location, out of 100 files, only 10 files are modified. Now when I give the current location, means I'm going to give the 100 files, but the Git will not take 100 files. It will take only the changed files, means the 10 files only is going to pick it up. That is the architecture of the Git. It's not going to pick all the 100 files like that. So right now in my current directory, I have only one file. In my current directory pwd ls, I have only one file called sample.txt. So now when I say git add dot, it will pick only that file only because only one file is there. Or I can give sample.txt. Multiple ways. Or I can give add -a. Anything is fine. -a means all. You can use the file name, or you can use the dot, or you can use the -a. Anything is fine here. Okay. So right now I'm going to use dot here, git add dot. So now it executed successfully. I don't see any errors here. Now let's see the status. Now in the background, what the Git is going to do. Okay. So now Git status. Now here, earlier it was in the red color. Now it is changed to green color. Nothing but now it is untracked state earlier. Now it is in a trackable state. It is able to understand that file. Now it is going to tell you save the file. Now I can accept the file. Git is able to accept that file. Means it is able to track that file. Now the thing is next step will be saving the file. Saving means creating the history. Now we are going to generate the history. Nothing but save. So now to save the code in the Git, the command will be commit. Git commit. Now here it is going to tell you either save it or discard it. Means remove it. Now suppose by mistakenly you have added it. You don't want to move that file forward. Then simply you can use rm. So that is going to remove the file. It is not going to take forward. No, actually the process will be you have to save the file. Right. So to save the file, then git commit is the command. Okay. So before going to run the command, I would like to show you the stages here. So here, if I go to the architecture again, now here, once I added, we are going to go to the staging area actually. Now the staging area is nothing but in the Git, you need to go to the working tree, nothing but ls-a dot git. Now go to the dot git ls. So once I ran the git add command, if you observe here, before creating the file, creating the touch file, sample.txt file, I have verified the .git. By that time, if you observe here, there is no index file. See here, there is index file right now. Earlier, there was no index file. The index file is the staging area for the Git. In the architecture, whatever the staging it is going to represent here, nothing but the index file. Right. So now here the index file will be generated once you run the command git add. Now the index I can see, this is nothing but the staging area. If I try to open the file, it will be in some kind of this character representation, special characters. You cannot understand because that is internally to the Git. It is not for us. Internally it is going to maintain those staging areas. Okay, right. So now here git status. Now here is going to ask you to save the file. Okay, so now when I save the file, in the background it is going to generate the history. So now I would like to see the history first, then I will save the file. Now to see the history of your particular code, git log is the command to see the history. Now right now I'm going to run the log. Nothing is there because until now I did not save anything. That is the reason no history is going to display here. No commit set. So now first time I'm going to save it. Right. To save this, git commit is the command. Git commit, then -m is the option, nothing but the message. So now here I'm trying to save the changes, nothing but the sample.txt file, what are the file I have created. I am trying to save that file. So for that, I'm using the command called git commit. Now here people, right, you are not only the person which you are going to work with the code. Multiple people are, right, multiple developers or your team leads are trying to monitor your code also, right? So by that time, whatever the changes you are doing, that has to be understandable by other people. So now other people has to understand means they should not go and see the entire code simply by seeing your changes, right? What they will do by seeing your changes, they will understand, okay, this kind of changes that guy is performed. So some meaningful message you need to pass it here, so that by seeing the message, you can understand what kind of the changes are done for the particular piece of code or particular piece of module, whatever it may be. So now here, the message we are going to pass it here. Now here I'm going to pass sample file is created. My commit message, my save message, enter. So now here you can see one file is changed. Then try to see git status. Now you see here, nothing to commit, working tree is clean. Now we are in a good shape. Right. So now here the points which we need to remember is whatever the changes, like it's a creation or deletion or update, whatever the operations you have performed on the files or directories, once the changes are done, the first command always will be adding, git add. Then the second command will be, once the changes are added, it has to be saved, git commit. These are the mandatory commands which we need to perform always once the changes are completed. Right. So now here, let's see the log. The log is nothing but the history is going to show you. Git log. Now we can see here one entry is created. Right. So in the one entry you can see head. As I said, head is the current cursor location. Now the current cursor is pointed to this history, this change. So now here, whenever I ran or we are going to run the command called git commit, automatically it is going to generate a SHA value, a 40 characters long SHA ID is going to generate commit ID. We are going to call it a commit ID or SHA values or something. So for every commit, a new unique ID, not the ID is going to repeat. A unique ID is going to generate by Git for every commit. Commit means a save. So that is what the history. For For every save, one commit is going to generate. So now with the commit, you are going to see who is done the changes and what is the time and date. This information also we are going to see. Right. So now here, who is done the changes? Right. Here the Shankar has performed some changes. He has done the save. But here the name is going to represent here the root, whoever is logged in here. Right. So now here, now the changes are done by a person called Shankar, but the changes are reflecting with the logged in user called root.
Yeah.
Now I want to change it. Yes, now I want to change it. I want to change it to with my name so that the people can understand Shankar has performed these changes. Right. So now first thing will be once the first mandatory step, mandatory means this is for the easy trackable, easy for understanding to everyone. The once you install the Git, you need to configure your Git with your username and email, so that whatever the changes you are going to perform, the changes will be tracked with your name, not like with the logged in user. Right. So now, after the Git installation, after the Git is configured on your machine, the first step will be configuration with your username and email. Right. So now here I'm going to configure my username and email. So I have given this steps, everything in the PPT. Guys, I will share the PPT to you. So each and every command is in the PPT. Okay. So here the installation steps, then the configuration. Okay. Now to configure our details, the command will be git config. Let me take the command otherwise. Git config -- global user.name. Right. Here username has to be provided. Here I am going to provide my name. Then here email user.email. Now here I am going to provide my email address. Some email address I am going to provide here. Enter. So now let's try to do some changes and see and observe how it is going to track the information. So now what I am going to do here is I am going to go to this file. I will add some content to the file. Right. So to add the content, what I will going to do, I'm going to open the file with the VA editor, VA sample.txt. Now add some lines here. This is sample line, some changes. So I have added some code and save this colon w, right, VA editor, right. Once the changes are done, colon right quit, so that the changes are going to save. Open the file. To open the file, cat is the command, cat sample.txt, right. So I can see a line is added here. Now some changes are performed. Some changes I have done. Now let's try to see the status. Git status.
Modified.
Correct. That's what. Any changes you have done, right? Once the changes are completed, by default the Git will be untracked state. You have to move into the tracked state, then you have to save it. This is the mandatory steps for us. For anyone, for the developers or DevOps guys who are trying to maintain the code in the version control tool called Git, the first thing will be once after your changes are done, you have to run the command called git add, then followed by the git commit. So now here untracked state, then I'm going to convert into tracked state, git add colon dot, then git status. Now it converted, so I can see a green color. Now it's going to ask me to save the file. Before saving the file, let me verify the log, git log. Right, as of now only one entry is there. The entry is nothing but my sample.txt file creation for that. So now I have added some content to the file. That change I want to see, right? That is the history, right? History is going to maintain now. So now here I'm going to run git commit -m. Okay, first line add some meaningful message. That's it. Some first line added into sample file. Enter. So when the moment I executed the commit command, in the background automatically one commit ID is going to generate. a unique commit ID, right? So now git log. See, now I can see two entries. One entry is for the previous one is called sample file is created. This is the older one, and I can see head current location is pointed to the latest changes. Nothing but first line added into the sample file. Now try to observe the author and date, right? Shankar. Earlier it was root because the configuration done. Right now Shankar with the email address. Right? So that is what we need to do actually, right? Once you install Git on your local, the next step will be configuration, so that people can understand easily who done the changes. Otherwise, it will be stored with the logged in user like root or something like that. Right, guys? Are we good at this moment? Any doubts
Yes,
here?
Shankar. Yes, Shankar.
Yes, right? Yeah, thank you, guys. Okay, so now
Shankar,
everything.
I have one
Yes,
doubt. Sorry.
sure,
Actually,
sure, sure.
see, this particular Git, we are installing it in our local workspace, right? Like how it
Correct,
can be available to the other team members? Do we need to give
correct.
other privileges or what?
Exactly. That's what I'm going to discuss about right now. That's what right.
Yeah.
So that's what in our before starting the class, like means before installing the Git, I told you right. Git, GitHub Enterprise. Now we are seeing only the Git, right? So when the people wants to share the code, there we required to go to the GitHub, not to the Git. Okay. So now in the organization, we are going to use the GitHub. That's what people we are always right. People are referring the word called GitHub, not the Git. So GitHub is the one, a common location on the cloud side. The data center will be available to maintain the code. That's what the GitHub. Now we are going to maintain the code on the GitHub side so that people can take the code. People can share the code among themselves. Right. So this is the process. Just I'm trying to explain you how to manage the code, how to manage the versioning on your local machine only for you, not for others. This is the process. So now the next step will be for everyone, for my team, right? The team is required the versioning, not for only the specific person. So that's what the GitHub. Okay, right? So now we'll discuss about the GitHub right now. Like before moving to the GitHub, I would like to tell you one interview area here. Okay, so now here there is an interview question for us. Usually people will ask you repository types, right? So here, right, usually we are going to have two different repository types. One is normal and the second one is bare repository. Normal repositories and the bare repositories. Normal is nothing but right now whatever we have discussed, that is the normal repository. Now we'll see what is a bare repository. This is only for the Git, not for the GitHub side. This is entry question. That's it. We are not going to use any different types of repository. Always it is the only one type of repository. But for the interview, yes, there is a two repository types are available. The second one is bare repository. Okay. So now whatever the repository I have created is a normal one. So now I'm going to create a bare repository. Then we'll see what is the difference. So I'm going to create a directory first. mkdir bare repo. I'm going to give some name bare repo. Now I'm going to convert this directory into repository. Otherwise, Git won't understand, right? So now I will switch to the bare repository. Now if I try to run the Git commands, Git status, it's going to tell you I cannot understand it. So Git status, it's not a Git repository. It's a normal repository, right? So now here I'm going to convert this into bare repository, not like normal. So now Git init, if I use Git init, it is going to convert into normal repository. Now I'm going to use an option called -bare. So enter. Now we can see repository initialized empty Git repository. Now it is converted as a repository. Anyway, it's converted as a repository, but it is a bare type repository. So now when I give ls command, right, you can see the working tree straight away. But usually for the normal repository, the working tree will be under the .git directory, not like this. Correct? So now why it is something like that? So why means, so suppose if I am going to create a directory here, some changes I am going to perform here. Okay, touch sample.txt. I have created a file here. Now I'm going to add this file. After the changes are done, the next command will be git add. So now it's going to throw an error. You must and should perform this operations on the working tree, not here. Means that on the bare repository you cannot do the changes straight away like this. It won't allow you on the bare repository. For the normal repository, the working tree will be on the .git. Yes, you can perform any kind of changes straight away. But the bare will not allow us to do the changes straight away on the bare repository. Then how can I maintain this repository? What is the purpose of the repository? If I cannot do any operations, then what is the use, right? So now here it is the oldest method. People are use this method very old, but right now we don't require this method, but for the interview sake. Okay. So now here how can I utilize this bare repository means it is going to allow us so now here this is my bare repository. I have created it. So now I want to push the code. I want to maintain the code in the bare repository means you cannot do the changes directly here. That's what we have seen, right? So the thing is you have to take the code into some other location from the bare. Now do the operations here. Do the changes. Now push back the code to repository. It will be allowed like that. So take the code into some other location, perform the changes, and push the code to bare repository. Push and pull will be available on the bare, not straight operations. So why they have defined something like means they don't want to mess up the code on the direct repository. So no direct changes. So if I do the change directly, I cannot. The reverting the changes will be difficult for me. If I have the push and pull mechanism, I can revert the code very easily. That is the reason initially they have came up with the concept called bare repositories. So on the bare repositories, we cannot do the changes directly, but push and pulls will be applicable. But for the normal repository, you can do the changes directly. This is what the interview question they will ask: what is the difference between bare repository and normal repository? So now the difference you need to tell is you cannot do the changes straight away on the bare. It can use pull and push, but for the normal, whatever you want to perform, you can perform it straight away. You can do it just for interest sake, not for real time. We are not going to use it anymore. Okay, right? So now let's move to our GitHub. Right. So now here we have seen how to set up the Git on local and how to create a repositories on the local and how to manage the code on the local side. But when it comes to the sharing, this code sharing the code will be somewhat difficult. I need to use some third-party tools, right? Like WinSCP or FTPs. I need to use to give the code to other persons. It's a kind of difficult process, or it's kind of time-taken process for me. So right. So now Git is providing us other options called GitHub, so that the code can be easily shareable and secureable with the help of GitHub. Right. So how I can do that? Right. So for that, what we need to do here is we need to create an account on the GitHub site. So now GitHub is a site which is available. We need to create an account on the GitHub site. On the account, we can manage the repositories. So now for that, we need to log in to the GitHub site, www.github.com. So right, this is managed by the GitHub folks. So that is the reason the servers or everything will be maintained, patches, backup, everything will be they are going to maintain. So now here the only doubt part is the security. If I place the give the code to the GitHub folks, right? So how much security I can have? Is there any guarantee that they are not going to steal my code? Right. So if you have such kind of doubts, then they are providing the GitHub Enterprise. The same thing can be set up on a local server. So that's what the GitHub Enterprise. Right. So now here, once you go to the github.com, the first thing will be we require an account here. So I'm going to sign out here. So sign up, very easiest process is just you require to give the username and the email password. That's it. So that it is going to create an account for us. Just simplest process. So once you given the details, it will ask you the plans. So choose the plan of like nothing but the free plan, $0 amount. That's it. Right. So give the username and email and password, create an account. So once the account is created, click on sign in. during the creation process, guys, if you guys are facing any issues, please let me know. Please share the screenshot on the WhatsApp group. So here, once the account is created, log into the account. So now this is my account. I'm going to log in. Right, so I logged into the GitHub with my account. So now here, in our real time, in our projects also, right, what are the project you are working with, there also, if they are using the GitHub, the same thing only. We are going to have the GitHub, we are going to see the same dashboard, we are going to have the repository, same, no difference. I will show you, okay, I will show you how my projects are working here. So now here, the first step, once the account is created, we require the repository, right? So here in my local, I have used git init command to create the repositories. Now here we are working with the GA, so you don't require to run any command. Simply what you need to do here is go and click on a new button here, repositories, or go to the plus symbol, click on the plus symbol, and see here there is an option called new repository. Either ways, you can choose this one or you can choose this one. So I am going to select the new repository. So now this is my account name, the owner, and this is the repository name which we need to provide here. Right, so here I'm going to give DevOps repo, some repo name. The repository available, you can take the repository. If it is not available, it will suggest you this is not available, choose some other one. So now here the description to manage CI/CD and automation scripts, something. Then the repository type, the public or private, right? If I take the private, it only belongs to the organization. So in our real time, we are going to have the private repository, no public. Public means anyone can take your code, right? So our projects will be with the private repositories, no public. But right now, we are not going to bother about anything because it's a public repository I'm going to create. Then here, we are going to have one option called README file. So now here, while creating the repository, you want to have the README file as a default. The README file is nothing but you can have the descriptions, right? You can give the details about the repository. So what kind of repository and what kind of code you are going to place. Some brief information you can provide so that whoever is trying to explore the repository, simply they will go to the README file and they will see the content. They can understand what exactly the repository belongs to. Right. So now it will give you an option if you want to have the README file as a default when the repository is going to create, or you want to create later, simply leave it. Otherwise, select this one so that I will get the README file as a default, then create the repository. Click on create. So now here you can see under my account, this repository is created. And you can observe here, a file is created, README file, the default. So now this is the process to create a GitHub repository. Just we require an account in the organizations. Our administrator is going to create an account for us, and he will share the details to us, like your account details. Now we are going to log in with those details. Then we are going to access the repositories. Right. So now here, initially the accounts will be created by the admin. The repositories will be created by admin. Now who is the admin here? The admin nowadays, the admin is the DevOps guys only. We are going to maintain everything. That's what I told you. Apart from the code, you are going to maintain all the stuff, creating the repositories, creating the organization, creating the users, everything. Right. So once all the setup is done, then we are going to share the details to the people so that the people are going to log into the GitHub, then going to utilize the repositories, whatever we are going to create. We have created. Okay. Right. So now here the repository is ready. Now what the next step? I need to work with the repository. My next step is working with the repository means I need to place my code. Right now there is no code here. Right. So now here a few observations we need to see here. The one, you can see there is a button called branch. When the moment I have created a repository, you can see a branch with the name called master we are going to see. Right. So here, let me go to the local cd dot dot. Now I'm going to create one more directory, mkdir sample. Now I will switch to the directory cd sample. Now I'm going to convert this into a repository, git init, correct? If I give the command git init, it's going to convert into a repository. Now I want to see whether this master branch is available here or not, because it is also a repository now. Now it is also a repository. Now in the repository, I can see a branch called master. Now here I would like to see whether the same master is created or not here. So now to see the branch information on your git, the command will be git branch. You can, right, we don't find any branches here, right? So now here the observation is the branch will be created when there is a commit happened. It is in a git or it is in a github, whatever it may be. If until unless no commit is happened, we are not going to see any branches. Here the commit is happened because I have created a file, readme file. A commit is happened. That is the reason you can see a branch called master. If I am creating a repository here, suppose I will go back and I'm going to create a repository, plus new repository. Now here sample test, some name. Then here I am not going to ask to have a readme file. Simply I have left it, create a repository. See here. Now it is showing in different way because no changes are done, no commit is happened there. Right. So that is the reason you are not going to see any branches or nothing. Simply now it is going to tell you now if you want to work with this repository, you have to follow these operations so that you can work with this repository. Right. So these operations are nothing but whatever I have done so far: initialization, adding, commit. We'll see this thing later. We'll discuss later. Right. So same operations it is going to ask you to do that. Right. So now here the thing is, until unless commit is not happened, you are not going to see any branches. That is the simplest, easiest way to understand. So here also no commits are happened. That is the reason I am not going to see any branch. Here also no commits are happened. That is the reason I am not going to see any branch. But when I go to my previous repository called DevOps one, there I am going to see the branch. DevOps repo master. Why? Because I have a readme file. Some changes are happened here. Right. So now here, let's see here. Now here I'm going to go to my local. I'm going to add a file, simple file here, touch readme file, something like that. Now the common, the mandatory operations, git status, git add, git commit, readme file. Now git status. Nothing is there. Now you can see a commit is happened. Now git log, I can see the history. Right? When there is a commit happen, now in the background a branch will be created automatically. Git branch master. We'll discuss about the branches later, which is a huge concept, is a very, very important concept for us. Yes, we will discuss, but just try to understand these differences. Okay, right. So now when there is a commit happen, then only the branch is going to create a default. Like the default will be again the master only. No other names will be taken here. So now here also you can observe a master branch is created. Right. So now here I would like to work with this repository. Like whatever the repository I created. Right now the team, like the team is a common, like the team is a bunch of, like bunch in the sense 10 people, like my team capacity is 10 people, 10 developers are there. Now all the developers are going to work with their requirement, means everyone have to have their code into the local machine shareability. Right. So now the people, what the people are going to do here is, once the repositories are ready on the GitHub side, they will go to the repository, then they will click on a clone or download button here. So now here, if I click on the clone or download button, there you can see a path. Right. So now whoever wants to have the code from the Git to your local, they have to go to the clone or download button and they have to take this path. To take the path, simply you can click on this option. It will copy into the buffer. Copy. So now go to the your local machine. So now I will switch out from the sample. I will be in the root. Now to get the code from the GitHub to your local, the command will be git clone. Git clone is the command to bring the code from the GitHub server to your local machine. Then what are the path you have copied? Paste the path. Shift plus insert. Right, this is the path. This path is nothing but your GitHub site, github.com. Under the site, your account, my account name. Under my account, my repository. Then followed by the extension called .git. That's it. This is the path actually. So when the moment I hit the enter, this repository will be cloned into your local. Now try to give ls list. Now we can see DevOps repo is came into local. Now switch to the repository cd DevOps repo ls. Now you can see the readme file. As I said, your Git when the moment you clone the code, all the content, everything, commits, branches, whatever there in the GitHub, everything will be cloned into local. So now here, right now at this moment, in my DevOps repo, I have only the one file called readme file, and the log I can see one commit and one branch. The branch is master, and the commit is one means for this change. If I click on the commits are nothing but the history. Now I can see initial commit for the readme file. Right. So now here, whatever is there, like the branch master, one commit, and the file, everything I can see in my local right now. If I go to the DevOps repository, now see Git log, right? To see the history, log is the option. Git log, initial commit. Now the branch master, Git branch. If I give Git branch, I can see the master and the file ls readme. Everything I got it. Now what I will do, I will perform the changes on my local. Right? Now I don't require any GitHub connection. I don't require this one because I got the copy into my local. I have the copy. Now I will work with the copy. I will do the changes. Then I will commit here. Everything I am going to perform here. Then finally I am going to push my changes to the GitHub. Let's see how we are going to do. Right. So now here, right now at that moment, I have a readme file. Now I am going to add one more file, my changes. So for that I am going to do touch daily backup .sh, some file, some script I'm going to create. So now ls. Now apart from the readme file, now I got the daily backup.sh file. One point we need to remember, guys, there is no auto synchronization between your local machine and the GitHub. No auto synchronization means whatever the changes you are performing here automatically will not reflect on the GitHub side until unless you push the changes. Whatever the changes are performing on the GitHub side, it will not be automatically reflected on your local until unless you get the code, you clone the code into your local. Right? There is no auto synchronization. Right? So now to confirm it, I have created a backup file here. If I go to my GitHub, try to refresh, nothing is there, only the readme file. Right? So that point, right? So why? Because means so local is yours. Whatever the changes you want to done, do the change. Whatever you want to play, you can play it with the code. It is not going to reflect your GitHub. Right? So if you think it is a good, then only push it. If you think it is not good, then discard it, remove it. It won't impact your production code. It won't impact your remote code, nothing but the GitHub code. Right? So so you have to do that. Once the changes are done, test the code thoroughly. Once you comfort with the code, once you feel it is the proper code, then finally push it. Right. So now here I have created the code here. I have created a file called daily backup.sh. So now right now I'm in the local. It is not in the GitHub side. Right. We have verified it also. So now the just for the confirmation, just I'm trying to give the command status. As usual, we are going to see untracked state. Now git add git commit -m backup script created, right? So now git log, right? Initial commit is the one which came with the GitHub repository. Now this is the commit just now I have created my changes, right? So now there is two entries here, two commits are here. On the GitHub side, only one commit as of now because I am not pushed my code yet. Now I am going to push my code, right? So once the changes are done from your local, once you are good with the code, then push the changes to the GitHub. So now to push the changes, right, git status, let's make sure everything is clean. Working tree is clean. You have to make sure it has to show this kind of message. Working tree is clean means it is going to confirm you we are good. So now I'm going to push the changes. To push the changes from the local to the GitHub, git push is the command. Git push. So now this is the partial syntax. The complete syntax of the push command is git push origin and the branch name. This is the complete syntax of the push command. We'll discuss this origin branch name in later, right? So the shortcut will be git push. So what the git push will do, it is by default, it will try to connect your remote machine, and in the remote machine means the remote repository, DevOps repo, and default it will try to connect the branch called master. This is the default stuff. Default is trying to connect your repository, and default branch master is going to connect. So now when the moment I give git push, then whatever the changes you have performed, those changes will be pushed to that particular branch. Let's see. Hit enter. Right, authentication is required, right? So security, right? So now when you are trying to push the changes, the authorized person is pushing or not the authentication, right? So now here I'm going to use my username and I'm going to use the password. Invalid username is going to tell you git push =9 only, or AKNAS 999 or so now here once the authentication is successful, the changes are going to push to the remote server, nothing but my GitHub, nothing but under the GitHub, my account, inside my account, this is the repository. So now the changes from my local master to GitHub master. As I told you, when the moment we said push, default repository is going to connect, default branch is going to connect. Now I can see the changes are pushed out. Now I will go to the GitHub side, then just a refresh. Now I can see there is a file came to here, daily backup, 3 minutes ago. Now you can observe here the history, 2 commits. If I click on the commits, you can see initial commit is the one with the default I got it, then backup script is created. Just now on my local I have created this commit, right? So now you can see code along with the history, in the particular branch master, right? So in that fashion, now here the steps when you are going to work with the GitHub, right? The steps will be first we require to clone the code. The first step will be from the repository to local. For that you are going to use Git Clone. Then do the changes. So whatever the requirement you are going to have, as part of the requirement, complete the changes. Once the changes are completed, run the command, right? Add it, track the files, git add. Then save. So to save, git commit. Then finally push the changes back to the GitHub, git push. So these are the steps you are going to follow. Right, guys? Any doubts here? Are we good?
Yeah, clear.
Okay. Thanks, Tejas. Anything? Okay, fine. So here we have seen the steps of creating a repository in the local and how to manage the history on the local. That is one step. The second process what we have seen here is creating a repository on the GitHub side and how to take the code from the GitHub to your local and how to push the code from your local to GitHub.
Yeah.
Yes, right. So now here Git clone, right? So there are some things which we need to focus here. The clone. So when a moment I set the clone, it will try to clone the entire code from the GitHub to your local. If it is a 1 GB of space, 1 GB of space of the repository, it will try to take the 1 GB into local. Right. This will be applicable means whenever you are trying to clone first time. Means when there was no repository exist on your local, by that time only you are going to use the clone. Next time onwards, you don't require to do the clone because unnecessarily you are going to utilize the bandwidth. Right. So here, if I observe here, right now I have the DevOps repository on my local. I got it with the clone. So now next time when I want to take the code from the GitHub, I don't need to run the clone again. Right. So now because GitHub is common for everyone. Like I just right now, Shankar is perform some changes on the DevOps repository. Tomorrow, some other person will perform the changes. Now he will push the code. Now his changes is pushed to GitHub. Now when I want to when I want to work with the repository, then I need to have the latest code. Otherwise, you are going to see the issues. That's what we are going to call as a Git conflict. Right. So Git conflicts is the one which we will discuss later. That is very, very important for us. So most of the time we are going to see the conflict. Okay, that is the later story we'll discuss. So now here the thing is, whenever you want to work with the code, always we must make sure we have the latest code. Right, because multiple people are working with the same repository. So different code will be pushed to the repository, which you are not aware. Right? They are not going to tell you, hey guy, I'm going to push the code to the repository. That is not their duty, which is not required for us. But for us, for you, we need to make sure whenever you want to work with the repository, always you have to take the latest code. Otherwise, you are going to see the issues. As an example, right? So now as an example here, so like how I clone the code into my local, likewise some other person clone the code and he done the changes and he pushed it back. So to see the use case, what I am trying to do here is on the repository itself, I'm going to do the changes. Right. So here I will open the file, daily backup.sh file. Here you can see a pen symbol to modify the file. So click on the pen symbol. Here again you can add the file. So here bin bash copy some xyz to backup for something, some code I have written. So I have scrolled down here. Right. So now this is the GA part. Right. As of now, we have seen the command line part to have the code and add the code and commit the code and push it. So now adding the code and adding the code means modifying the code, then saving the code from the GA side. So now this is the GA part. So now here without taking the code into your local, right away can perform the changes. But in the real time, we are not going to give any permissions to do something like this. We are going to disable this kind of authentication to the people. Otherwise, what will happen? Straight away, they will go and they will merge it, so that it is going to impact to the production. It should not be like that. I will see how to restrict the code and how to restrict the people to not to do the changes directly straight away like that. I will show you. Okay. Right now to see the use case means the other person pushes the code. Right. So I don't have other machine. That is the reason I am doing the changes straight away here. So now here I have done the changes. Then come down here, you can see there is an option called commit directly to the master, nothing but your git commit command. So you can give the message code is added, then commit it. Now the code will be saved. Right. So now in the DevOps repository in the daily backup.sh file, which I have created locally, push it here. Now on the file, you can treat some other person add the code. Now this code I am not going to see in my local because there is no auto synchronization. So if I see here ls cat daily backup is an empty file, right? So now here, if I go to the repository back again, you can see 3 commits. If I give git log, only 2 commits. The latest change is not there. Only the backup script is created. I can see here. If I click on the commits, here you can see 3 commits, initial, backup, and the code is added. So right now we have only these 2, not the latest. So now here, when the movement means, you can assume like the other person pushed their code into the GitHub, into the same repository. Now, now when you got the new requirement, you need to work with the same repository. So now what I need to do here is, I need to take the latest code, then I need to start working on the code. Otherwise, I am going to see the issues. So how we are going to take the latest code from the GitHub to your local? The one way which we know right now is git clone. Git clone is a command to get the code. But the clone command, when we are going to use first time, when there was no repository exist on your local, by that time we are going to use the clone command. Next time onwards, we are going to use clone or pull or fetch. So now clone or pull or fetch are the commands to get the code from the GitHub to your local. Now we know when we are going to use the clone, first time only, when there was no repository exist on local. The next time onwards, we are going to use pull or fetch. Right. So now here, what the pull or fetch is going to do, it will compare your local and the GitHub, and you will see the differences. So if any new changes are found on the GitHub side, simply those changes are going to pull into your local, not all the code. So that you can save the bandwidth. Unnecessarily cloning the entire code into local means you are going to use the bandwidth unnecessarily, right? So now the Git is having a mechanism, nothing but when you're trying to run the pull or fetch command, only the changes you're going to take it. It will take care, your GitHub will take care. Right. So now here, what I'm going to do here is, before doing the operations, now I'm going to run the command git pull so that I can have the latest code into my local. Now we can see daily backup 2++ means 2 lines. I got it, 2 lines. So now here ls, open the file. Now I can see those 2 changes are came into my local. Now git log, you can see 3 commits. So that's what the pull is going to do. Now we can start working on the code. Okay, because both are in sync right now. Your GitHub and your local is sync. So now it is going to allow you your changes. Otherwise, it won't allow you the changes, because some changes are on the GitHub side, some new changes are in local. Now Git won't understand what changes has to be accepted, whether GitHub changes has to be accepted or local has to be accepted. That's where conflicts we are going to see. We'll see these conflicts, right? So now to avoid the conflicts, always make sure take the latest and do the changes and push back. Right. So this is the process. So now here, one more command is there, fetch. This is our interview area again. Usually in the real time, we are not going to use the fetch, but for the interview sake, the fetch is required. People ask, what is the difference between pull and fetch? Okay, let's see with the use case. So now here, again, I will go back to the GitHub. I am going to add some content. Suppose I will go to the readme file. I'm going to modify this file. Daily backup script is added. Some changes. Now I'm going to save. So save the changes. Right. So now the changes are saved. Now I can see if I go to the DevOps repo, there I can find out 4 commits. Right. The latest commit is right. I have not given any message. The commit message. So that is the reason updated readme file. By default, it has taken the fourth commit. I can see 17 seconds ago. Now I want to take the latest code into my local again. So now I'm not going to use git pull. So now I'm going to use the fetch command. Pull and fetch, both commands purpose is taking the latest code from the GitHub to your local. Both will work the same. What is the difference? We'll see. Enter. Now you can see it's trying to fetch the code from your local, from the origin to local. I can see here. Now just try to see whether you got the code or not. Git log. Still I can see only 3 commits, 1, 2, 3. But here there are 4 commits. And try to see the content. Cat readme file. Right, the new line not present here. Means the code is not reflected here. The latest changes are not reflected here. But I can see here when the moment I ran the fetch command, it has done some changes. I can see here some data I got it. So what the fetch is going to do here is it will bring the code from the GitHub to your local, but is not going to apply it immediately. It will keep in a buffer. The changes will be in the buffer, not on your repository. So now what I need to do here is when the moment I run the fetch, I need to apply the changes from the buffer to my repository. For that, I need to run one more command called git merge. So fetch will fetch the code from the GitHub to your local, but not is going to apply onto the repository. Now I need to apply the changes. To apply the changes, I need to run the command called git merge. Enter. Now you can see readme file, one line is added. Now try to see the log, git log. I can see 4th commit is added. Update, right? 4 commits. Now open the file, cat readme. Just for confirmation, I can see daily backup script is added. Right. So now the difference between the pull and fetch is simple. Pull equal to fetch plus merge. That's it. So now when the moment I run the fetch, I need to run the merge command. When the moment I run the pull, I don't require to run any separate commands. Automatically, it will fetch the code and it will apply the code into your repository. Right? This is what we need to tell the answer. When the people ask you what is the difference between the fetch and pull equal to fetch plus merge. That's it. They will understand. Okay. Now, right. So people are like fetch plus merge is the old process. Now the latest is pull. So now we are not going to use the fetch, but yes, for the interview sake, this is required for us. Right. So now the difference between the clone, pull, and fetch. Clone is going to clone the entire repository into local. It is going to use when the repository is not exist on local. Pull is going to use when we want to take the latest code from the repository from the GitHub to your local. The changes pull is going to use. Fetch is also going to use for to take the latest changes from the repository local, but the changes are not going to apply immediately until unless you ran the merge command. So these are the 3 differences between the clone, pull, and fetch. So right guys, so for today I have some other work, so I'm going to stop it here. So we'll cover the rest of the concepts tomorrow. Are you okay?
That's okay, Shankar. Shankar, I think in last class we discussed about key mechanism, right? Like from server to server.
Sorry, Priya, I did not get you. In the last class,
We discussed about key mechanism, right? Server to server.
private key, public key mechanism.
Yeah. So tomorrow, can you take like 10 to 15 minutes and give a glance about it once?
SSH process. Oh, sure. Yeah, sure. We'll take it out. Yeah. Not an issue.
Okay.
So, okay, that's okay. So, in the Git, until like, what are the topics we are covered? Are you able, like, you guys are able to understand? Are any confusion here? Please let me know. Okay. Try to practice it. Yeah, if it is clear, right? Then we are good. Try to practice it because this is very, very important for us. This version control tool. Right. So practice it. Any doubts tomorrow? Let me know. So we'll clarify those doubts and we'll move on to our next content. Like we are going to see very huge content on the GitHub side. So many components I'm going to cover. Many concepts I'm going to cover. Okay. So we'll go deeper, but like we are going somewhat deeper into our GitHub side. So please practice is mandatory for us, for you guys. So if you don't practice, no use of learning the DevOps. That is for sure. Okay. Yeah. So yeah. Anybody?
Shankar, sorry, go on.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, please let me. Yeah, Rajesh, tell me.
Shankar, you said like you're going to provide me the document for the AWS account creation.
Yes, right now after right away I will share the AWS creation of AWS account creation and this GitHub video also.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So guys, and also our WhatsApp group purpose is to clarify the doubts. If you guys any issues you are facing, please take the screenshot and post to the group any moment. Okay. So that our practice should not be stopped at any cost. Okay. So that is one thing. Yeah, whoever joined newly, like I think our batch is completed the Linux commands. For the new guys, we'll take the backup, we'll plan it so that we can cope up with the Linux command. Then see the shell script once after the Git is completed, or some like once we are in the same place. Okay, so please let me know, guys, whoever wants the Linux commands again, so that we can plan accordingly. Okay, I think Rajesh is required. The new folks who have joined, so yeah, so we'll plan. Rajesh will plan for the Linux stuff. Okay, so
Yes.
so that in our next class, in our next week, by that time we'll be familiar with the Linux commands.
Okay,
So the other folks also please let me know so that we'll plan it. Okay. So right, guys, tomorrow
sure.
at 10 o'clock. Yeah, 10 o'clock we'll meet.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Share this video.
Thanks. Bye.
Yes. Yeah. I am going to share this video. Yeah. Sure.
Okay. And if possible, I will share all the team members' mail IDs. You can copy it and you can send all
Yeah.
team members.
Yes. Yeah. Please. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, guys. Yeah. See you tomorrow.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
This conference will now be recorded.